The air in the small apartment was thick with the scent of jasmine tea and the quiet hum of a fan. Maya sat at her desk, a worn English textbook open before her. The words swam before her eyes, a jumble of unfamiliar shapes and sounds. She had been learning English for months, but the language still felt like a distant, elusive dream. "This is too hard," she whispered, her voice a soft sigh. "I will never speak like them." She looked at the picture in the book, a smiling woman holding a cup of coffee. The caption read, "Good morning, how are you?" Such simple words, yet they felt like a mountain she couldn't climb. Suddenly, a voice echoed from the hallway, a warm, familiar voice that always brought a smile to Maya's face. It was Mrs. Chen, her neighbor, a kind woman who had taken Maya under her wing since she arrived in the city. "Maya, my dear, are you practicing your English?" Mrs. Chen asked, her eyes twinkling. "Come, have some tea with me. Let's talk." Maya joined Mrs. Chen in the hallway, sipping the fragrant jasmine tea. Mrs. Chen, a retired teacher, had a knack for making Maya feel comfortable and encouraged. "You know, Maya," Mrs. Chen said, "learning a new language is like learning to sing. You must practice, you must make the sounds, you must let your voice be heard." Maya frowned. "But my English is so bad. I don't want to make mistakes." Mrs. Chen chuckled. "Mistakes are like stepping stones, Maya. They help you learn and grow. And you know what helps you speak better? Reading aloud." Maya's eyes widened. "Reading aloud?" "Yes," Mrs. Chen said, her voice full of warmth. "Read the words, hear them, feel them in your mouth. It will help you understand the language better, and it will make your voice stronger." Maya hesitated. She had always been shy, afraid to speak in front of others. But something in Mrs. Chen's voice, a quiet confidence, made her want to try. "Okay," Maya said, her voice barely a whisper. "I will try." Mrs. Chen smiled, her eyes full of kindness. "That's my Maya. Now let's find a story for you to read." Mrs. Chen helped Maya find a simple children's book, filled with colorful pictures and short, easy sentences. Maya opened the book, her fingers tracing the words. "Once upon a time," she read, her voice shaky at first, but gradually gaining confidence. "There was a little girl named Lily." The words flowed from her mouth, hesitant at first, but growing smoother with each sentence. She felt a strange sensation, a tingling in her chest as she read aloud. It was as if the words were coming alive, taking shape in her voice. She read about Lily's adventures, her laughter and her tears, her dreams and her fears. Maya felt a connection to Lily, a shared experience of being a young girl navigating a new world. As she read, Maya noticed something strange. The words, once a jumble of shapes, were now taking on a new meaning. She could hear the rhythm of the language, the rise and fall of the sentences, the subtle nuances of each word. She read the book over and over again, each time her voice becoming more confident, more fluent. She began to understand the power of reading aloud, how it could unlock the language, make it her own. The next day, Maya went to the library, a place she had always avoided, afraid of the silent, judgmental stares of the other patrons. But today, she felt different. She had a purpose, a mission. She wanted to read, to hear her voice, to make the language her own. She chose a book, a simple story about a young woman who traveled to a new country and learned to speak a new language. Maya felt a connection to the story, a sense of shared experience. She sat at a table in the library, the quiet hum of the air conditioning a comforting background noise. She opened the book, her fingers tracing the words. "I am here," she read, her voice a little shaky at first, but gaining strength with each sentence. "I am in a new place, a new world." She read about the woman's struggles and triumphs, her moments of frustration and her moments of joy. Maya felt a connection to the woman, a shared journey of discovery and growth. As she read, Maya noticed something remarkable. The words were no longer just words. They were stories, emotions, experiences. They were the building blocks of a new language, a new world. She read aloud for hours, her voice growing stronger, more confident. She embraced the mistakes, the stumbles, the moments of confusion. She saw them not as failures, but as stepping stones on her journey. She began to read aloud everywhere, in the park, on the bus, in the quiet corners of her apartment. She read to herself, to her neighbor Mrs. Chen, to anyone who would listen. With each reading, Maya's confidence grew. The language, once a distant dream, was now becoming a part of her, a reflection of her voice, her thoughts, her experiences. One day, Maya was walking down the street when she heard a voice behind her. "Excuse me," the voice said. "Can you tell me where the nearest library is?" Maya turned around and saw a young man, his face a mixture of confusion and hope. "Of course," Maya said, her voice steady and clear. "It's just a few blocks down this street. Follow me." The young man smiled. "Thank you," he said. "I'm new in town, and I'm trying to learn English." Maya's heart warmed. She remembered her own struggles, her own journey. "I understand," she said. "It's not easy, but it's worth it. Just keep practicing, keep reading aloud, and you'll get there." The young man nodded, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said. "I'll do that." As Maya walked away, she felt a sense of pride. She had come a long way, from a shy, hesitant learner to a confident speaker. She had found her voice, and it was a voice that could help others on their own journeys. Maya continued to read aloud, her voice a beacon of hope and inspiration for others. She knew that the journey of learning a new language was never truly over, but she also knew that with each reading, with each spoken word, she was getting closer to her dream, the dream of making English her own. The importance of reading aloud. Maya's story is a testament to the power of reading aloud. It's a simple act, yet it can have a profound impact on language learning. Hearing the language. Reading aloud allows you to hear the sounds of the language, the rhythm of the words, the nuances of pronunciation. This helps you to understand the language more deeply and to develop a better ear for it. Building confidence. Reading aloud helps you to overcome your fear of speaking, to practice using your voice, and to build confidence in your ability to communicate. Improving pronunciation. By reading aloud, you can identify and correct your pronunciation errors, and you can learn to speak more clearly and accurately. Expanding vocabulary. Reading aloud exposes you to new words and phrases, helping you to expand your vocabulary and improve your fluency. Engaging with the text. Reading aloud allows you to engage with the text on a deeper level, to understand the meaning, the emotions, the story behind the words. The power of the voice. Reading aloud is more than just a language learning technique. It's a way to connect with others, to share stories, to express yourself. It's a way to make your voice heard, to make a difference in the world. Maya's story is a reminder that the journey of language learning is not just about acquiring knowledge. It's about finding your voice, embracing your individuality, and using your voice to connect with others and make a positive impact on the world. The journey continues. Maya's journey is not over. She continues to learn, to grow, to embrace the challenges and rewards of language learning. She knows that the path to fluency is a long one, but she is no longer afraid. She has found her voice, and she is ready to use it to make the world a little brighter, one word at a time. Chapter 1. A New Beginning. The air was thick with the smell of jet fuel and the nervous chatter of passengers. Maya clutched her worn suitcase, her heart pounding in her chest. She was leaving everything she knew behind, her family, her friends, her home. She was starting a new life in a new country, a country where she didn't even speak the language. Don't worry, Maya, she whispered to herself, trying to calm her racing thoughts. You can do this. She had been learning English for a few years, but it was still a struggle. The words felt foreign on her tongue, the grammar a confusing puzzle. But she had to try. Her aunt, Mrs. Chen, had offered her a place to stay and a chance to start a new life. It was a risk, but it was a chance she couldn't pass up. As the plane taxied to the gate, Maya looked out the window at the unfamiliar city below. It was a sprawling metropolis, a maze of towering buildings and bustling streets. It felt both exciting and intimidating. This is it, she thought to herself, taking a deep breath. My new life begins now. Chapter 2. A Kind Neighbor. Mrs. Chen's apartment was small but cozy. It smelled of jasmine tea and old books, a comforting aroma that reminded Maya of her grandmother's house. Mrs. Chen, a kind woman with a warm smile and twinkling eyes, welcomed Maya with a hug and a plate of homemade cookies. "Welcome, my dear," she said, her voice soft and soothing. "I'm so glad you're here." Maya managed a weak smile, her nerves still on edge. "Thank you, Aunt Chen," she replied, her English halting and uncertain. "Don't worry, Maya," Mrs. Chen said, her hand resting gently on Maya's arm. "It will take time, but you'll get the hang of English. In the meantime, I'm here to help you however I can." Over the next few days, Mrs. Chen helped Maya settle into the apartment and showed her around the neighborhood. Maya was grateful for her aunt's kindness and patience, but she still felt overwhelmed by the sheer size and pace of the city. One afternoon, as Maya was unpacking a box of books, she heard a soft knock at the door. She opened it to find an elderly woman standing in the hallway, a friendly smile on her face. "Hello, dear," the woman said, her voice warm and inviting. "I'm Mrs. Patel, your neighbor from down the hall. I saw you moving in the other day and wanted to welcome you to the building." Maya blinked in surprise, her English vocabulary failing her for a moment. "Oh, thank you," she managed to reply. Mrs. Patel chuckled. "No need to be nervous, my dear. I know it can be daunting, moving to a new place, but I want you to know that I'm here if you ever need anything, okay?" Maya nodded, feeling a small sense of relief. "Okay, thank you," she said, her voice a little stronger. "And please call me Amara," the older woman added with a warm smile. "I look forward to getting to know you, Maya." As Amara turned to leave, Maya felt a surge of gratitude. Having a friendly neighbor was exactly what she needed in this strange, new city. "Amara," Maya called out, the name feeling unfamiliar on her tongue. "Thank you." Amara paused and gave Maya a gentle nod. "You're very welcome, my dear," she replied. "I'll be seeing you around." Maya watched as Amara disappeared down the hallway, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. Maybe, just maybe, she could do this. Chapter 3. The Power of Reading Aloud. Over the next few weeks, Maya settled into a routine. She would wake up early, make a simple breakfast, and then sit at the kitchen table with her English textbook, determined to learn as much as she could. But the words on the page often felt like a foreign language, and Maya would find herself growing increasingly frustrated. "I can't do this," she would sigh, running her fingers through her hair in exasperation. One day, as Maya was sitting at the table, staring blankly at her textbook, there was a gentle knock at the apartment door. She opened it to find Amara, her kind neighbor, standing in the hallway. "Good morning, Maya," Amara said with a warm smile. "I was just about to head out for my morning walk and thought I'd see if you'd like to join me." Maya hesitated for a moment, unsure. "Oh, I don't know," she replied, her voice uncertain. "Come now, a little fresh air will do you good," Amara insisted gently. "And maybe we can practice your English a bit along the way." Maya considered the offer, her eyes glancing back at the daunting textbook on the table. Maybe a break would be just what she needed. "Okay," she said, nodding. "Thank you, Amara." As they walked through the bustling city streets, Amara engaged Maya in simple conversation, asking her questions about her day and her studies. Maya stumbled over her words at first, but Amara's patience and encouragement slowly helped her to relax and find her voice. When they returned to the apartment, Amara turned to Maya with a thoughtful expression. "You know, Maya," she said, "one of the best ways to improve your English is to read aloud." Maya's brow furrowed in confusion. "Read aloud?" she repeated, the words feeling unfamiliar on her tongue. Amara nodded. "Yes, my dear. Reading the words out loud, rather than just silently in your head, can really help you to hear and understand the language better." Maya considered this, her mind racing with doubts. "But what if I make mistakes?" she asked, her voice small. "Ah, but that's the beauty of it," Amara replied with a gentle smile. "Mistakes are how we learn, and the more you practice reading aloud, the fewer mistakes you'll make." Maya looked down at the textbook on the table, uncertainty still etched on her face. Amara placed a reassuring hand on Maya's arm. "Tell you what," she said. "Why don't we try it together? I'll read with you, and we can help each other along the way." Maya hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Okay," she said, her voice a little steadier. Amara beamed and opened the textbook to a page with a short, simple story. "All right, let's begin," she said, her voice warm and encouraging. As they read the words aloud together, Maya felt a strange sensation. The language, which had once felt so foreign and daunting, suddenly began to take on a new sense of familiarity. She could hear the rhythm and flow of the sentences, feel the shape of the words in her mouth. By the time they had finished the story, Maya was surprised to find a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "See?" Amara said, her eyes twinkling. "It's not so hard, is it?" Maya shook her head, her confidence growing. "No, it's not," she replied, her English sounding a little smoother. From that day on, Maya and Amara made a habit of reading aloud together, whether it was from Maya's textbook or one of the storybooks Amara had collected over the years. The ritual became a comforting part of Maya's daily routine, a time when she could immerse herself in the language and feel a little less alone in her journey. Chapter 4. The Sounds of English. As the weeks turned into months, Maya noticed a remarkable change in her English skills. The words that had once seemed so foreign and confusing now felt more natural and familiar. She could understand more of what she read and heard, and her ability to communicate with others, though still imperfect, had improved significantly. She started to notice the subtle sounds of the language, the way the words rolled off her tongue, the rhythm of the sentences. She even began to enjoy the challenge of learning new words and phrases. One day, as Maya and Amara were reading a story about a young girl who loved to sing, Maya stopped and looked at Amara with a thoughtful expression. "Amara," she said, her voice a little hesitant, "you were right. Reading aloud really helps." Amara smiled warmly. "I told you, my dear. It's like practicing your voice. The more you use it, the stronger it gets." Maya nodded, her eyes sparkling with newfound confidence. "I think I'm starting to understand the language better now. I can hear the sounds, the rhythm, the way the words fit together." Amara reached out and gently squeezed Maya's hand. "That's wonderful, Maya. You're doing so well. Keep practicing, keep reading aloud, and you'll be speaking English like a native in no time." Maya smiled, her heart filled with a sense of hope and determination. She knew that the journey to fluency would be long and challenging, but she was no longer afraid. She had found her voice, and she was ready to use it to make the world a little brighter, one word at a time. Chapter 5. A New Friend. One afternoon, as Maya was walking through the park near her apartment, she heard a voice calling out to her in halting English. "Excuse me, miss?" the voice said, and Maya turned to see a young woman, her face etched with a mixture of nervousness and hope. "Yes?" Maya replied, surprised to find herself able to respond with relative ease. I'm sorry to bother you, the woman said, her eyes darting around nervously. But could you tell me where the nearest library is? Maya blinked, her mind racing. Just a few months ago, she would have struggled to understand the woman's question, let alone provide a clear answer. But now, the words felt almost natural on her tongue. Of course, Maya said, her voice steady and confident. It's just a few blocks down this street. Follow me. The woman, whose name Maya learned was Sarah, looked surprised. You speak English so well, she exclaimed, her eyes widening. I'm Sarah, by the way. I'm new here too. I'm Maya, she replied, a warm smile spreading across her face. I'm still learning, but I'm getting better. As they walked, Sarah shared her story. She had moved to the city from a small town in the countryside, drawn by the promise of new opportunities. But the city felt overwhelming, and she missed the familiar faces and comforting routines of her old life. She was struggling to adjust, and learning English felt like an impossible task. I just feel so lost, Sarah confessed, her voice laced with sadness. I don't know anyone here, and I can't even order a cup of coffee without feeling like I'm making a fool of myself. Maya understood. She had felt the same way when she first arrived. But she had found a way to overcome her fears, and she wanted to help Sarah do the same. I know how you feel, Maya said, her voice soft but firm. But you're not alone. I'm here, and I'm happy to help you in any way I can. Sarah looked at Maya, her eyes filled with gratitude. Really? She asked, a flicker of hope in her voice. Really, Maya confirmed. We can practice English together, and I can show you around the city. We can even go to the library together. Sarah's face lit up with a smile. That would be amazing, she said. Thank you, Maya. You're a lifesaver. From that day on, Maya and Sarah became inseparable. They spent their days exploring the city, trying new foods, and practicing their English. They would meet at the library, a place that felt like a haven for them both. There, surrounded by books and the quiet hum of the air conditioning, they would read aloud to each other, share their stories, and encourage each other's progress. The library became their sanctuary, a place where they could escape the pressures of their new lives and immerse themselves in the world of words. They would spend hours poring over books, their fingers tracing the lines, their voices echoing through the aisles. Maya, with her newfound confidence, would read aloud from classic novels, her voice growing stronger and more fluent with each sentence. Sarah, inspired by Maya's progress, would try to follow, her voice hesitant at first, but gradually gaining confidence. They discovered a shared love for stories, for the way words could transport them to different worlds and make them feel connected to others. They read about brave adventurers, wise old women, and mischievous children. They laughed together, cried together, and learned together. One afternoon, as they were reading a book about a young girl who traveled to a foreign country and learned to speak a new language, Sarah looked up at Maya with a thoughtful expression. You know, Maya, she said, you've taught me so much. I never thought I could learn English, but you've shown me that it's possible. You've given me the courage to try. Maya smiled, her heart filled with warmth. It's not just me, Sarah, she replied. It's you too. You're working hard, and you're making progress every day. You're a natural at this. Sarah blushed. Thank you, she said, her voice filled with gratitude. I couldn't have done it without you. As the weeks turned into months, Maya and Sarah's friendship blossomed. They shared their hopes and dreams, their fears and frustrations. They supported each other through difficult times, celebrated each other's successes, and learned to navigate the challenges of their new lives together. Maya realized that learning English was more than just acquiring a new language. It was about finding a new sense of belonging, a new way of seeing the world, a new way of connecting with others, and she was grateful to have Sarah by her side on this journey. Chapter 10. A New Beginning. One evening, as Maya and Sarah were walking home from the library, They passed a small community center. A sign outside advertised a language exchange group, a place where people from different backgrounds could come together to practice their languages and learn about each other's cultures. "Hey, Sarah," Maya said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "What do you say we check this out?" Sarah hesitated. "I don't know, Maya," she said, her voice laced with uncertainty. "I'm still not very confident with my English. What if I make a fool of myself?" Maya squeezed Sarah's hand. "Don't worry," she said, her voice filled with encouragement. "We'll go together. And besides, it's all about practicing and having fun. No one's going to judge you." Sarah nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." The language exchange group was a lively and welcoming space. People from all over the world gathered around tables, chatting, laughing, and practicing their languages. Maya and Sarah were a little nervous at first, but they quickly found themselves drawn into the conversation. They met people from China, Japan, Mexico, and many other countries. They shared stories, learned about different cultures, and practiced their English with each other. Maya was surprised at how much she enjoyed the experience. She felt a sense of belonging, a sense of connection to a community of people who understood her journey. As the weeks went by, Maya and Sarah became regulars at the language exchange group. They made new friends, learned new words and phrases, and gained a deeper understanding of the world around them. They even started to teach some of the other participants a few basic phrases in their native languages. One evening, as they were leaving the community center, Sarah turned to Maya with a thoughtful expression. "You know, Maya," she said, "I'm so glad we came here. It's been such a great experience. I feel like I'm finally starting to find my place in this city." Maya smiled, her heart filled with happiness. "Me too, Sarah," she replied. "We've come a long way since that day in the park, haven't we?" Sarah nodded, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. "We have," she said, "and it's all thanks to you, Maya. You've been such a wonderful friend, and you've helped me to believe in myself." Maya hugged Sarah tightly. "And you've helped me too, Sarah," she said. "You've shown me that even when things feel difficult, there's always hope, and there's always a way to find our way." As they walked home under the starry sky, Maya thought about how far she had come. She had arrived in this new country feeling lost and alone, but she had found her voice, her confidence, and a new sense of belonging. She had learned that the journey of learning a new language was not just about acquiring new words and phrases, but about discovering a new way of seeing the world, a new way of connecting with others, a new way of being. And she knew that this journey, like all journeys, was never truly over. There would always be new words to learn, new challenges to overcome, new experiences to embrace. But she was no longer afraid. She had found her voice, and she was ready to use it to make the world a little brighter, one word at a time.